Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Thank you for watching. If you stick around to the end, I'm going to answer the questions that were brought up in the comments of last Monday's video. Now today we're going to be reviewing the calls that were made in the MLQ 2019 Finals Game 2 between Austin and Boston. I was the head referee on this game, and I'm going to again take that focus on either no calls or back to hoops calls or calls that weren't explained well on the commentary to really give you an understanding of what's going on in my head as the game goes on, especially into those end game scenarios. Okay, so let's dive on in.
Goes back to Quincy and that Dasu, and it's Archibald that's going to get the stop.
Ooh, that's an excellent dive right there. We're going to go back and take another look at this. You're going to see, I believe that's Casey Irwin making an excellent dive to attempt to get the ball without committing the illegal foul of making low contact. It's going to happen right here on this hoop, right in front of this keeper.
Costa working hard. Goes back to Quincy and that Dasu.
So ball's on the ground, and the keeper is running from this way, and she's running from this way. Now, neither of them should be diving on this ball because they can see the other players coming, which means that if they're going to dive, they're going to have to do it in a really particular way. And Casey Irwin from Austin does a very particular dive that prevents her from hitting Jake Archibald, and it's absolutely a spectacular way to avoid that card and avoid that unsafe situation.
And it's Archibald that's going to get the stop. He's going to beat out Irwin.
Where she saw Jake coming and knew she can go for the dive, she can get low, but she can't just go forward into the dive or just drop straight down. So she goes for the dive where she turns and turns out of the way, and that is excellent.
Archibald's down the field. He's running. He's only got Greg Water beat. He does beat Greg Water. Now he's going to get rid of the ball. It's a goal, 2-2. Costa going to tip that. Monroe going to get there. He's not going to be able to go in. But McBride's able to scoop it up underneath. McBride's been huge.
Okay, so in that play, there are a bunch of excellent no calls. There's 3 excellent no calls right in a row that end up with a goal at the other end. So we're going to go back. We're going to watch this play one more time to really get a good look at what those 3 no calls were. The first is a contact no call behind the hoops. The second is a contact no call right in front of the hoops. And the last is a no call on a potential beat, even though a player contests. Okay, so this pass is going to go back to this player here, but it's Matthew Gregoire. It's going to go back to him. And Brian Mulcahy here is going to attempt the tackle.
Costa's going to get beat out. That's going to force the Bludger to go.
That's no Bludgers.
So right here, right as soon as Gregoire catches it, he's got his side to Brian. And as he catches it, and then he turns with the catch. Now, you can see here that within a frame is when he's going from sideways to the back, right? And Brian is less than half a step away. I mean, you can see his foot's already on his heel, less than half a step away, and that momentum carries him into the tackle. Because the Austin player turns the last second, I mean, right when he catches it is when he turns, and that's when the hit occurs, that's going to be legal. It's the Austin player's fault, for turning at the last second, and then knowing the defender's coming, turning at the last second, and taking that contact from behind. It's the Austin player's fault for turning and causing the hit to be from behind at the last possible second. So that becomes a legal tackle. And then you're going to see he's going to end up making a pass over the hoops to Augie Monroe here right in front of the hoops, and that pass is going to be defended by Teddy Costa.
Good hit there by Mulcahy.
Now right there, Teddy goes up for the ball, jumps in front of Augie, and tips the ball away. And in the process of tipping it, he ends up bumping and jostling with Augie. Now this is the definition, the absolute definition of what incidental contact is. As part of the incident of going up for the ball, he's going to have to make contact with Augie. There's really no way he can go up for the ball without contacting Augie. Or if you were to go up for the ball without contacting Augie, there's no way he could possibly play that ball. The force isn't excessive. It's not egregious. And the primary force isn't a charge. The primary point is to go up after the ball, and he ends up bumping into Augie on the way. That's how the play goes. And so it's an excellent no call to not call any sort of contact in the air there.
Costa going to tip that. Monroe going to get there. He's not going to be able to go.
Now, this beater comes up and beats Augie at the last possible second. But this chaser right here, who I think is McBride, if I remember correctly, picks up the ball and dumps it in the hoop.
But McBride's able to scoop it up underneath.
And this beater is going to contest the call, saying, "What do you mean? He was beat before." When I think he thinks that Augie scored, whereas Aaron is the one who actually scored. So that's an excellent no call by the refs. And an excellent call here to know that, no, the player who scored wasn't beat. They were fine. Another player was beat, but that player was not. An excellent work on the refs to stick to their call despite the protest of the player. You want to give them their due process, but you definitely don't want to be changing your calls solely based on the opinions of players.
McBride has been huge for this team in this game.
A great hustle goal from McBride there.
But also credit to Augustine Monroe, who had a second effort after making contact with Costa. Okay, he was such a defensive weapon.
Now it's Dastard Andrews. Dastard going to go for the tackle. She's not going to be able to make it.
Yeah, so right there is a miscue by myself as the head referee. We're going to go back and see it one more time. But what's happening there is Grace Dastu from Boston ends up wrapping Josh Andrews from behind. And initially, I think it's going to be worth a card. And then I determined later that it's going to be back to hoops, but I already had put my hand up. I'll explain further as I go through it. Let's take a closer look at it.
Monroe.
Okay.
She's coming across. He's going to then turn back, and she's going to wrap him from behind.
Now it's Dastard Andrews.
Right there, wraps him up from behind. Now, I'm over here, and I'm going to put my hand up to call the foul because I've seen these players before. I've seen these players tackle before. Now, normally, if a player like Grace Dastu gets two hands on someone, they're going to the ground. Okay, they're going to get tackled, they're going to get wrapped, they're going to end up going to the ground, and it's going to end up factoring into the play. Now, as the ref, because I've seen these situations before, when I see this occurring, I go, oh, that's probably going to be a card. Almost every time I've seen this before, it's going to be a card because it's going to affect the play. Okay, but in the course of this wrap, she ends up losing her broom and ends up dismounting herself, so she goes back to hoops, and it ends up not really factoring into the play very much at all.
Dastard's going to go for it.
So I put my hand up because I'm like, oh, this is going to be a tackle. It's going to disrupt the play. She loses her broom immediately. We've got an AR here helping me out on the call because, directly across from the keeper from me. And as soon as I notice that she's dismounted and going back to hoops, I realize, oh, hey, a back to hoops is actually the right call here.
The tackle, she's not going to be able to make it.
Now, you might wonder, well, what if he had tried to drive? What if he was going to drive on the hoops? Well, when she wrapped him up, he wasn't facing toward the hoop. He was running away from the hoops. So it's not like she grabbed him while he was running towards the hoops and then spun him around. He was already running away from the hoops, and she and he both spun in the same direction. She didn't really affect his motion or momentum here at all. So he was able to continue on with the play, and so that means it rises to a back to hoops foul. Doesn't affect the play overall.
McBride behind the hoops. From Garza. Garza gets it to McBride. McBride unable to score. Bermudez almost gets there. There's a big collision.
Oh, and the real unfortunate part here is that whistle is going to stop Garza's goal, and I don't think it's for a foul on Austin by any means.
So in the commentary, Ethan here is right. He asks, he says that whistle comes a little early, and it's not against Austin, so it takes away Austin's goal. I'll explain why I blew the whistle as quickly as I did. The foul is on Boston. It's for an illegal charge on a player who doesn't have the ball. Let's go back and take a closer look at it. So the charge is going to happen right here.
Drive there with a missed shot from Garza. Garza gets it to McBride. McBride.
So it's coming up right here. This player is going to get charged by, I think it's Marty Bermudez is going to get charged by Harry Greenhouse.
McBride unable to score.
So from my angle here is the referee. When I saw Harry dive in, put his shoulder down for the tackle and for the charge, when they hit and collided apart, I honestly thought the Austin player had gotten his head hit, had taken a shoulder to the head there. Now, that's easily a concussion or possibly a spinal injury. And in the case of a head, neck, or spine injury, as a ref, you have to stop play immediately, no matter where it is on the field, because that player needs immediate attention. Okay. So, in addition, this quaffle isn't going very far. So, I don't want play to end up here. This player gets hit and tackled on top of them, and then makes a minor injury now a major injury by exacerbating it further. So I'm going to stop play immediately. While it does take away Austin's goal, I would rather that player got the help they needed and Austin didn't score a goal on that play than that player ended up more seriously injured and Austin scored a goal, right? One of these two things is a lot more important than the other. As a ref, you have three major duties. The first is to the safety of everyone involved in the game, whether that's players, your officiating crew, or even spectators. And here, my duty to the safety of the players was paramount, and it was the primary focus of why I decided to stop that play immediately. Your second duty as a referee is to the fairness of the game, to make sure that you are calling things equally for both sides. And last but not least, it's to the gameplay, letting the game play, letting the players make the play, not making the game about yourself, making it about the people involved. And you'll see as soon as we stop the play, this Austin player is going to get up and sub off immediately, walk straight off the field to sub.
Bermudez almost gets there. There's a big collision.
Oh, and the real unfortunate part here is that whistle is going to stop.
And you can see he's going to just walk straight off the field.
As the injury sub for
the ball going to Monroe is interesting there.
He's going to pass it to Andrews. Andrews going to look. Andrews going to pump.
Ethan brings up a point. He says the ball going to Monroe is interesting there. Well, as the fouled player, that's where the ball went to. The ball went back to the fouled player in this case. Speaking of fouled players, you're going to see a play happen behind the hoop here, and you're going to see a no call, 2 no calls in a row. The first no call is a good no call. The second no call is a bad no call, and I'll explain both no calls.
Andrews going to fire. It was a pat.
So the first one is right here. This Austin player on offense jukes this defending Boston player who has both arms out, and on the juke ends up falling and smacking their face into the defender's hand. There's a no call there on high contact because of the getting hit in the face, which is a good call because it's really that's incidental and accidental. You know, he's got his hands out to make a defensive play, and the Austin player slips on the turf. That there's neither person has committed the foul there. Next, you're going to see a foul that is committed by Boston that it looks like a foul that ends up not being called.
As to Garza slips after the misbeat by Nasta.
So right there, it's kind of hard to see. The footage is grainy, but the Boston player ends up with a wrap, but their belly button in front, their arms are on the back, but their belly button's in front, so that part is legal. It looks high. On the film, it looks high. And it looks like the player's left arm is over the top and around the back of the head of the Austin player. It's hard to tell from here if they're just over the shoulder and in line with the neck, or if they are actually making contact with the head or neck of that player. And two-handed tackle is legal in MLQ. But as the head referee, I'm being screened by all of these players. So it is very hard for me to be able to see this play here. But as soon as they go to the ground, I'm going to make my way to the back because I want to make sure that if there's a scrum, I can see what's going on inside it. So I'm going to make my way to the backfield. But there's also 1, 2, 3 referees in the back, and this goal judge is a referee in this game. When you're doing finals games of major tournaments, pretty much every single person on that field is head ref certified. So these 3 people have pretty good eyes on it, and none of them are making a call, which makes me wonder if it is head or neck contact. From the film, it looks a lot like it, which means that's a missed call by at least 3 officials. But also that means 3 officials are looking at it and thinking no neck contact, which makes me also think maybe that player is being careful enough to not make contact with the head or neck as they reach around. It's just hard to tell from this footage here. But you're going to see me make my way back.
That's some high contact.
Cole, there's no call on Cole so far.
And the commentators are wondering the same thing.
A beat by TK on
that we're wondering now.
Maintain bludger control
now as
for the Outlaws.
Now they're tangled up. So now those players are tangled up. It's kind of difficult to get up when you're tangled on the ground. There's a little bit of leeway there as you get up. You might accidentally, lean on someone or fall on someone as you're getting up, or you might end up being tangled at the bottom of a pile, but you're beat. Nothing you can do. You're at the bottom of a pile. You're just stuck there, right? You just got to stop holding on to whatever it is you're holding on to, but just wait for the pile to clear. But this Austin player is going to get up, and they're going to swear at me. They're very frustrated by some particular portion of that play, which is another reason to make me believe there might have been some illegal contact there. But they're going to get up, and they are injured, but they are also angry about the no call, and they're going to express their anger to me. But they're going to swear at me in the same place, in the same sentence. And as a ref, while players might get frustrated, you can't abide outright disrespect to you in the middle of a game. You can't abide that at any point, or you'll lose control of the game and you'll lose credibility incredibly quickly. So this player for Austin is going to earn himself a yellow card for unsportsmanlike conduct.
There for Austin in a lot of ways. The game stays 5-5.
A great defensive play there by Hickmott. Gets the ball for Austin. Oh, and Cole gets it right back.
Oh, yeah.
Off of her.
He threw it
Yep.
off of Hickmott like you would in a basketball play to get possession.
So in basketball, that's a very valid strategy that is employed, where you bounce the ball off of someone to send it out of bounds so that your team gets the ball. But in Quidditch, that's illegal. That's a blue card for propelling the ball with the intent to send it off pitch. In fact, one of Austin's players, got the exact same card for the exact same thing in the exact same place on the field. And now Boston's going to get that same card right here. It's a blue card, propelling the ball with intent to send it off the pitch. Even though you're bouncing it off someone, you're still intending to send it off. That's going to give you the blue card. So Boston goes ahead and earns themselves a blue card here that Austin had earned in the same place on the field just last game. That ends up giving the quaffle to Austin on the field.
Oh, he's going to get a blue card for throwing it off pitch because Hickmott hadn't come back on pitch yet.
That's not quite why. Good try, Ethan.
It's how it would work in basketball. From Helen coming.
And Bermuda's
steps out.
Bermuda steps out. It's going to be a
So that's an excellent teamwork between the head ref and the AR on that side. So this AR is on that side of the field, and the snitch and all the beater plays on the other side. And on the other side, I think we had 3 ARs watching beater play over there. He's on this side of the field. He's helping to officiate the quaffle game that ends up on that side of the field. He does excellent. And he is tracking Marty Bermudez over to the side because Marty's a lot faster than I am. He can get to the sideline a lot quicker than I can. But the ref runs over to the sideline and is able to see Marty step out and signals to me, hey, he stepped out. So that we were able to make that call really, really quickly and able to give the appropriate turnover to Boston.
Helen coming.
And Bermuda's
steps out.
Bermuda steps out. It's going to be a purple ball.
I would love to see Monroe come back in and play some chaser.
I think you're right about that. Mulcahy on the wing, still guarded by Hickmott.
So Boston here, I remember the game. At this point, they're trying to run out the clock, but they don't want to get a stalling penalty. So to prevent the stalling penalty, anytime they're given the chance to advance to get a score, they have to take it. Austin is still playing pretty good defense, pretty far away from the hoops. So I'm not going to force Boston to run into defense. I'm not going to force them to make bad choices by running into a stacked defense or running into a really good defense. They're covered. The defense is pressuring them, is keeping them from advancing. And so they're going to keep passing it, waiting for that defense to open up. Or if the defense doesn't open up, they're not going to be able to score. And again, I'm not going to force someone to run into contact or run into a really good defense. Okay, you're going to see here in a little bit, one of the players gets the chance to advance and doesn't take it, which is what cues me into the fact that Boston is stalling, is actually performing the foul of stalling. And that's when they're going to get the stalling warning.
Water Control is back again with
And it's going to be Greenhouse for Boston and Seeker.
Anderson in at Seeker.
Still being guarded.
Austin.
He was
It's
doing
that.
this last game.
Turns the corner, still getting guarded.
Archibald still patient.
Dodge there from Greenhouse. He's going to get a shot at keeper.
Makes the pass out. Doesn't advance. Oh, but they're being attacked by the beater.
Playing really good defense, forces a reset from Boston. Now we're going to find
Still
out
advancing.
He is open.
Boom, right there. When he catches it, he had plenty of time to advance to try and dunk on a shot or get a shot off before those two players were able to clamp down in front of him, and he doesn't take it. And that's the point. At the point precisely where I'm like, they're definitely committing the illegal foul of stalling. In addition, back a little bit, there was a player who catches the ball out here, and they also don't advance despite the fact that the field is wide open for them. And those are things that clue you into the fact that they're committing the foul of stalling.
He freezes.
Boston's in no rush here. I'm not sure why. It's really hard to read the strategies of these teams right now. This is a situation that sure they practice and practice.
Right, and so there I'm giving them the warning of stalling. Warning, Boston, stalling, because he starts walking away. He starts walking away from this defender who just stands there and is like, okay, walk away from me. Like, yeah, there you go, stalling. Boom. You get the stalling and delay of game warning there.
Not been in ever. In all the years playing Quidditch, and a lot of years.
There was a misbeat from Dillman that's going to give Anderson a chance here. Keep Knowlton in.
I think Austin's fine letting Boston score here.
Oh, and
Right, so as Ethan said, he said Austin is fine letting Boston score. So Austin has been routinely scoring every single possession here once we've gotten into snitch on pitch in the second half of the game. Their chases have been routinely scoring. And so Boston is down 2, Austin is down 1. Austin needs one more goal to win. If you are Boston and you score, you end up down 2, which is nice. Or I think actually, I think the score on the thing is wrong. So they're down 2. They end up down 1, but Austin gets the ball when they score, which means Boston is likely to come back and then immediately score and win the game. So Boston really doesn't want to give Austin the ball, even by scoring. They don't want to give them the ball at all. They want to wait for the snitch to be caught at this point. This is one of those times as a referee, you have to be aware of the score and of the game situation and of what top tier strategies are. It's why as a ref, I always like to be playing on a team. That way I know what the top tier strategies are so that I can make sure that while those strategies are happening, they're happening in a legal and fair way. In this case, Boston really doesn't want to score, so I have to be on top of it, really strict about those stalling fouls, where I know that they're not going to take every chance they get unless I make them. Okay, so this is one of those times where the game situation does matter. The referee has to be fully aware of the fact that Boston's strategy is don't score right now, is hold on to the ball and wait.
Nice play by Jesse Nolan to avoid a turnover. Would have been a cause.
And Boston does a pretty decent job of making sure they're at least advancing towards the hoops somewhat consistently.
Nolan had the snitch.
Lang needs to get back in the quaffle game. It's not about beating Bento right now.
Archibald
he's blocked by Gregoire. Oh, that's going to be...
Yeah, so this card has been talked about multiple times, is this card to Jake Archibald. Now, as a referee, you have to consider that some players are what are called impact players. They're going to have a bigger impact on the game when they're taken out or when they're put in the game. And Jake Archibald is one of those impact players. He's been Team USA keeper for I think the last 3 iterations of Team USA. He's won a championship at keeper. And so he's a big impact player. He's very, very good. Now they're not saying there aren't other superstars in the team, but he is definitely an impact player. In these late game situations, fouls on impact players, again, we've got to be making sure as a referee that you're making really, really strong choices and really strong decisions. And that when you're giving fouls, you're making the active choice to get fouls, not just relying on those instincts. So here in this case, Jake goes in feet first for the slide and ends up kicking the ball that someone else was already reaching for. And that was an illegal slide. It was a dangerous slide. And that call had to be made. You can't just because an impact player doesn't mean you let them get away with it, but it does mean you have to consider the impact of fouls, and when you give them, that you are sure that you've given them, so that you're not sealing the fate on a bad call or a wrong call, which would be just about one of the worst things a ref does is controlling the outcome of the game and not letting the players determine the outcome of the game. In this case, he earned his card. He's going to get the card, and when Austin's down a goal and we take away an impact player, an impact defender, an impact offender from Boston, that can matter.
Be a card, I think, on Jake Archibald, and that might be the dagger in Boston.
One thing that really helps is that I was already going to call it, but the AR comes in to tell me also, says, yep. I go, great. I'm glad we both agree. I'm glad there's 2 of us that agree with this card. When it comes to straight red cards, and especially cards on impact players, I like to get the opinion of any ARs that also saw the play. Giving a straight red card is a very harsh punishment, so I don't want to just be going around giving out straight red, go, yeah, I saw it, straight red. So there are often times where I do. I go, yeah, I saw that. But I always like to consult with at least one AR before I give a straight red card to a player. I think it's just doing my due diligence as a head referee to just make sure I saw what I saw, right? Wasn't an optical illusion or something. And some people will tell you that you shouldn't have to do that. You shouldn't have to consult with ARs on those kinds of things. I decide that I should, and that I should definitely consult with ARs on these kinds of calls. On an impact call like this, I like the AR already came in to consult, but I probably would have asked the local AR, hey, did you see that? You think that was a dangerous slide? And if they were like, yeah, I think so, great. And in this case, they think so. If they didn't, we'd have a short discussion, a very short, but a short discussion about why not. And then I'd make a choice, and probably I would end up still giving the card. In this circumstance, definitely.
This game. Be interesting to see if they try to make an emergency sub here. If Austin doesn't run transition, maybe get Skurin to be a real keeper instead of Cole.
I don't know if you can take a player off the pitch in this situation.
Oh, it's only if Austin slows it down. If Austin's, as it were.
Knowlton and Zeus still with budget control.
Yeah, no, he's not slowing down. Gregoire's all the way in the lane. His
The
shot
goal's
goes
no good.
wide.
So on that play, there's a no call that occurs on that contact, which is a good no call. We're gonna watch that contact one more time. It's the tackle on Gregoire. I'm not certain who's making this tackle. It's either Brian Mulcahy or Justin Cole. I can't quite tell on the footage. It's Brian Mulcahy. So he's running. He ends up side by side with Gregoire, but there's belly buttons in front. He's side by side, but the belly button's in front. And so at this point, he then reaches around with the arm, either reaches in front or behind, and ends up going after the ball and ends up bringing Gregoire down. And that's a fantastic play by Mulcahy to make sure that his belly button was in front when he made the contact and when he started going for the tackle, and ends up being a great defensive stop as well.
Budget control.
Yeah, no, he's not slowing down. Gregoire's all the way in the lane. His
The
shot
goal's no
goes
good.
wide. Austin just can't get through the middle block of this last goal for the second straight game.
Bagman down at seeker. I don't know if it's going to matter.
Havlin's due back in the game.
But Boston is going to try and kill this penalty. And a great beat by Havlin there on Wang. And Knowlton is going to have a chance here at the snitch. And Boston is going to walk this up.
Bagman has a grab! Bagman has a grab!
That's the game. Last week, some comments were left asking me to explain further on some calls or asking some further hypotheticals on some calls. So let's go ahead and address those. Okay, let's address some comments that were left. First comment here is at 9 minutes and 7 seconds. What about behind contact? So at 9 minutes and 7 seconds is where we're discussing the no call from the contact from Grace onto one of the Austin players. So he just tossed the ball. So this is a really tight play. And as I said in the original, it's a really tight play. It looks like he might be going up. He's got his side to her when he catches, and maybe there's a little bit of twist in there. Again, like I said in the video, there's enough evidence to call that from behind. From the video, but from my personal perspective, I don't know that there is enough evidence here or I don't know that in real time, I thought there was enough evidence to call it a from behind. I think in real time, I ruled this to be a contact directly from the side that the player turned into at the last second. The next comment is also from Matista901. Says that at 23:37, according to the IQA rulebook, a protected keeper must directly and immediately advance the quaffle out of the keeper zone. So if a beater is waiting outside, they still have to do this, for example, by passing to avoid delay of game. Here, the keeper delays exiting the zone for a defender and to draw a foul. What is my view on that? So he hasn't left the zone. So to take a look here at this play. So right here, the keeper stops really quick to prevent themselves from getting hit while they're still a protected keeper so that they can get a fair shot on offense. And I don't think this should be called. This really isn't delaying the game. So the point of that rule is it's a delay of game. It's to prevent delay of game. And this right here doesn't prevent the game from continuing. This is a quick stop. It's not like the keeper stops in the zone, turns around, and stares at the player for a good couple of seconds. That would be delay of game. In this case, this is the keeper stops at the last second. In addition, the keeper doesn't have, I don't think there's a single off. Yeah, every single quaffle handler for Austin is behind the keeper. So the keeper's like, hey, where's my team? And before leaving the keeper zone, part of that stoppage might be to, hey, where are my chasers? Where are they at? I want to know where they are. I want to regroup my team before we get advanced on offense. Okay, so this keeper right here is not delaying the game. The delay of game foul is intended to prevent teams from just camping in their own zone and preventing the other team from ever getting the ball, right? Because theoretically, if that wasn't a rule, the keeper could just sit in their own zone, hold on to the quaffle, and wait the game out, and just wait till the game was over, right? They could score one goal and wait for the game to end, right? Or be up 40 and then just wait for the game to end. This is not an example of the keeper delaying the game. They are simply waiting for their team. They are simply making a quick stop to wait for a defender to get out, to clear out of the way. It's this is clearly not delay of game. And the third comment, again, all these are from Batista901. Thank you for commenting. I appreciate it. So at 20 minutes and 53 seconds, has a question. Isn't the keeper supposed to anticipate that the other player will slow down to pick up the ball? For him, it's fine rolling out, but for the other, it isn't, so they will slow down to control the ball. Continuing to run all the way and only starting to stop when the other players at the ball wouldn't be a fair reason for me to argue that they had no time to stop before the push. Let's take a look.
I mean, Jake's maybe a half step away.
So this is the play at the very edge. So this is the play where the chaser for Austin picks up the quaffle, bounces it off the keeper to send it out. Well, on the same play, it looks like there might be a push from behind on the keeper.
From this chaser. So there's almost no way he can stop his momentum in just a half step. I mean, he's good, but a half step, a full step I'll give him, but a half step, no, he's not going to stop his momentum there. Be able to.
So yeah, he's not going to bring his momentum down to 0. He might bring it down a bit, maybe half of what it originally was, but he's not going to bring it down to 0. He's not allowed to put any extra momentum in, and he has to stop in time, or he has to slow down a reasonable amount. He can't simply just go careening through the other players simply because they slowed down. Yes, he does need to anticipate that, but he's not adding any extra oomph to his momentum. He's taking his momentum, he's pulling out as much of it as he can, but he ends up pushing the player, and they're both off balance, and they both go tumbling forward.
Stop it completely there. Or at least it's unreasonable to expect him to be able to stop it there. So right here, that's what you're going to see here, is she's going to put herself in front, he can't stop his momentum, and that momentum carries him into her from behind, and she's going to end up being pushed out of bounds by that momentum. Sideline, McBride's going to get pushed by Archer.
Right, so that's what happens there. He pulls out as much of his momentum as he can, but he can't pull all of it out, which ends up pushing her forward. She's off balance, and part of her play was that she leapt forward to turn around and slam the quaffle back off of Jake. So again, while he does have to slow down as much of it as he can, he wasn't able to take all of his momentum out. And I'm not going to ask him to predict the future. Maybe the Austin player is going to run straight past the quaffle. Maybe they're going to not stop in time. They're going to make a mistake and go right past the quaffle, in which case he really shouldn't slow down. He's playing defense. I'm not expecting him to predict the future, but I am expecting him to react to the situation in front of him here. So thank you for watching this ref review of Game 2 of the 2019 MLQ Finals between Austin and Boston. I hope you learned a little, or maybe you learned a lot. I'll be back next Thursday with a video on teamwork between head referees and assistant referees and how to work effectively and efficiently as a crew to make sure the game is well officiated. I'll hope to see you then. Have a good holiday, good Passover, and a happy Easter.